creators, it's Melissa from Melissa's Creations. I am so excited to be back filming videos for you. I am going to show you how to make this awesome Christmas card. The idea to make a card like this came from my VIPs. If you are interested in gaining access to my VIP group on Facebook, all you have to do is be a customer or be a team member. I hope you are as excited as I am to get into this card. Let's get started. So we're going to start off with 2 pieces of designer series paper. Now these are scrap pieces. This piece measures approximately 3 inches by 6 inches, and that is enough to get about 8 to 10 stars out of, give or take. It could be closer to the 8 mark. So we're going to go ahead and cut all of our stars out of these 2 pieces. I used 6 of each color, 6 stars of each color on my star wreath for my card. So you can use more or you can use less, kind of gauge how you would like. From the Whisper White cardstock, I have 2 pieces here. The first mat measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, and our second mat measures 3 3/8 by 3 7/8. And from my crumb cake cardstock, I've cut a standard card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. My first mat is 3 1/2 by 4. My second mat is 3 3/16 by 3 11/16. And then I have a scrap piece of crumb cake here that is the same width as this piece, 3 3/16, but it's a 1/2 inch wide. This piece is optional, and it is what I stamped my Happy Holidays onto. I did not stamp my sentiment before assembling my card, so that's why I opted to add a piece of cardstock of the same color so that it blended well. However, if you want to stamp your sentiment first, go for it. I just wasn't sure if I would have enough room because I wasn't sure exactly how big this was going to be, and I had to cut the middle out in order to put this together. You'll see that technique in just a minute. And I know what you might be thinking when you saw all those measurements. Melissa, why are you using 1/16 of an inch? That is just ridiculous. Let me tell you, I don't often use that measurement, but I really do think that it's value added on this card because of the thin border that you get in this background here. It just looks really, really nice, and I really liked how that looked, so I decided to keep those 1/16 inch measurements. We're going to start today with the star of the show. No pun intended. Okay, a little bit of pun. So I'm going to be cutting out all of my stars, and to do that, again, I'm bringing in my wood crate framelits dies, and I'm taking that little star out right there. Because this card is a little tedious, this is not something that you would want to make in mass production. You would also not want to mail this card because of how high and how many layers it has, unless you opt to hand cancel it. So I would recommend making this card for a hand-delivered note, or even possibly if you are mailing a whole box of goodies. That would also be a good use for this card. I do recommend flipping your plates so that you are not bowing them too much. I get a lot of mileage out of these plates, as you can see, by flipping them continuously and even switching which one goes on the top and which one goes on the bottom. I find that helps a lot as well. So my sandwich, I have here my magnetic platform, 1 cutting plate, my DSP, my die, and then a cutting plate on top. I'm trying to cut in the middle of this piece so that I can use the edges as a mat on another card. While we still have our big shot out, I'm going to cut a circle that I can use as a template to place my stars. I find that this is very important. You don't want to skip this step because you might have some wonky stars. So I'm going to cut a circle out of the crumb cake base here, and that is the second crumb cake mat. So it's the mat that measures 3 3/16 by 3 11/16. So what I'm going to do, this is the correct orientation. It will go onto my card in this direction. With my layering circles framelits dies, I'm going to get 2 dies out. So we're going to start with this circle, which I believe is the 3rd largest circle. I'm going to set it down and make sure that I have an even amount of space on the left, right, and top so that it's the same width on those 3 sides. Now I'm going to get the circle that is 2 sizes smaller. So that's this one here. I've nested that circle, the smaller circle, inside the larger circle on my crumb cake piece of cardstock. I'm going to cut that out. So we have the ring, which is what we are going to build our star wreath on. And we have the inside circle, which we are still going to put together. And I'll tell you why I cut this out when I assemble the card. So you guys, spoiler alert, I am going to be using a stamp out of the November 2018 paper pumpkin kit. And I do apologize because this kit is not available for purchase. I'm pretty sure that you're not going to be able to get any refills or extra kits ever, but I really liked the sentiment, and it's really the only one that I have on hand that is the right size to stamp on here. So with that being said, spoiler alert, if you don't want to see what's inside the November paper pumpkin kit, look away. I'm not going to get everything out. I'm just going to get the stamps out. If you would like to see my unboxing video for this kit, be sure to stay tuned to my channel. That is coming very soon. I'm also going to be doing that on Facebook Live in my VIP group. Okay, so on the last card I did Happy Holidays, but I really like the Merry and Bright. I am debating. Does the Wonderful fit on there too? It does, but the stars are probably going to cover it up. I'm going to keep with my Happy Holidays. Now on my first card, I use the technique where you stack the stamp. So this is a long stamp. You can see here it stamps it in one long line, but I wanted to split it apart to fit under here. Since I'm going to stamp directly onto this piece right now, I'm going to leave it in a straight line. I have some Cherry Cobbler ink here in our classic stamping pad. This is the old style. The new style is a much more sleek design, and it stacks really well. But mine are on the way. I have not replaced it yet. It should be shipping soon. I'm so excited. I was able to take advantage of Stampin's amazing ink deal yesterday, last night, like an hour before the sale ended. I was so excited. All right, so we're going to stamp that kind of down in the lower portion in the middle. Beautiful. So I'm going to set that aside for a moment. I'm going to bring in my ring. So I'm going to start assembling all of my stars at this point. Now, the way that I have assembled these is kind of trial and error, but I think that it worked really well. I am using some mini dimensionals. So what I did was I took one and I put it onto the ring. Peel the backing off, and let me bring you guys in a little bit so you can see this part a little better. There we go. So I peeled the backing off, and I'm going to start with a red star. Now, the point is, get it? So this is a point, and the point of this is you want to make sure that you get that point on the ring, and you want to stick the star as close to the top of this as you can. Stick it to the dimensional as close as you can. So my point is on the ring here. My dimensional is just underneath this divot here. And you can see there's, oh, maybe not. There we go. So you can see that is where my dimensional is. It's right at that divot of the star. And the point is on the ring. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is place another mini dimensional right on the tip of that star. So this dimensional is holding that star in place so it doesn't wobble around. You can see that it's pretty steady there. And then I'm going to peel that off. I'm going to alternate my colors. I have my next star here. I'm going to do the same thing. You can twist it a little bit if you'd like, but make sure that when you're putting your star down, you're covering up this tiny little portion here, and on this side you can see the ring right there. I want to make sure that I'm covering that up with my next star, and one of the star points is still on the ring here. Now if you cut more stars out, you can bunch them up a little closer together. So I'm going to go ahead and try that on this to see how it turns out. I'm going to bunch them up a little closer than I did on my last sample. We'll see if I need more stars cut out by the end of this. And then you're just going to continue doing that around, placing the mini dimensional on the star tip on the ring and alternating your paper colors. All right, now as you get to the end, you want to make sure that you end on the alternating color. So you can see that I have a red here and here. I want my last star in the middle of that to be the green star. So I'm just going to kind of pull up that tip of the first star, glue down that point, and without gluing the first star down, I'm going to kind of gently bend the ring and then slide that star in. And on this, it doesn't matter if that point is on the ring or not, because you're just finishing it off like that. So on this star wreath, I used 7 stars of each color, so that's a total of 14 stars, and that's one more star that I used on this one here. So you can kind of see the difference if you kind of squish them together a little bit more versus having them spread out more. Which one do you prefer, the bunched up or the spread out? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so now I'm going to bring back in the middle circle that was cut out at the same time we cut out our ring here, and I'm just going to plop it right there in the middle, and it's going to kind of stay on its own. So I'm going to be doing a little bit more to that once I get my card assembled. So I'm just going to set it in there for a moment. We're going to get all of our layers put together now. So remember this piece I told you that we were cutting out for the sentiment? Again, this is an optional piece. I'm not going to use it on this card since I was able to stamp my sentiment directly on this crumb cake mat here. We're going to start by folding our card base in half. Using your bone folder, go ahead and crease that score line. And all of the pieces here we're going to start layering up. And I've run out of snail, so I'm going to grab one here. I am going to start with my first crumb cake mat. I'm going to adhere my Whisper White mat on top of that. Okay, now this is the really skinny border that I really thought made this card stand out. You can see how thin that border is, and I just love it. I think it's so pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and do this piece now, which is our stamped piece. Okay, and now for our wreath. 2 things on this. The first thing is I'm going to use snail just on the middle circle, and then I'm going to use my mini dimensionals all over the ring portion only. So when you're putting your dimensionals down, make sure that you're not putting it over the line on the inside. You want to make sure that it's out towards the edges. All right, so I'm going to pick that up carefully, and I'm going to figure out which way I want my stars to face, if there's a nicer part than others. I think we're going to go right, I don't know. We'll go like this. How's that? And then you're just going to line that back up, and you might have to get underneath it to kind of see where you want to place it. But we're just going to try and line that circle back up with the circle we cut out. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now that middle portion, remember that? It looks like it's raised up right now with the wreath, because in fact it is. This middle portion is not stuck down, but this is what I'm going to do. Bloop. I'm going to tuck it right down, because that's going to give me another layer of dimension so that this wreath really stands out. Okay, so now we're going to grab some regular dimensionals, and I have cut this piece up so much, but there's still some good pieces on there, so I'm going to cut it up a little bit more to get all of that dimensional goodness out. All right, we're going to put that onto our white cardstock mat. And then I have a little bit of ribbon. So I am using the classic weave ribbon in our crumb cake, and I think it looks just as scrumptious. So I'm going to kind of measure it out so that I have enough to wrap around the back of the card. All right, so on the back of this, down here at the bottom, I'm just gonna put a little bit of snails just so I can tack this down. So we're gonna run that across. Center that in the white space at the bottom. Okay, so now that I have that tacked down, I'm going to come in again with some of our tear and tape adhesive. And I'm using this kind of like Scotch tape, but I'm also going to use it to actually adhere my card down in that lower portion. So when I run this across the ribbon back here, it'll help to hold that ribbon in place, and I can use that to stick down to my card. And on the rest of the card, I'm just going to run some snail. And get that on our card base. And boom, almost done. Now we just have to add a few finishing touches. First of all, I'm going to tie a ribbon, and I like to do one little loop. I keep my ribbon as straight as possible when I am going around in circles, and that helps me to get a nice square knot on the front. And then I'm going to place one glue dot underneath that just to hold that in place so it doesn't wobble around on me. There we go. And finally, we are going to use some rhinestones. Now, I do have the old style sheets left over still. I'm still trying to use them up. I promise, I'm almost out of them, but I gotta get them used up, you guys. 4 or 5. Let's do 5. And I'm gonna put those right underneath the middle of my sentiment here. Okay, and then I'm just gonna grab a couple more in varying sizes, and I'm going to just pop a couple of those on the stars. And there we are, creators. There's our gorgeous star wreath card featuring the wood crate framelits dies, as well as the festive farmhouse DSP. I hope you enjoyed this card today. If you did, please be sure to give the video a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. And follow me online at melissascreations.com. I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/MKre8tions. And you can also find me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest with the handle at MKre8tions. If you are joining us for the ICS blog hop, be sure to find my coordinating blog post, which is in the description box below. You can click on the link to get to my blog. Hop around to all of the other talented demonstrators that are joining us in this hop worldwide for Christmas card inspiration. Don't forget, you can get all of the supplies that you saw here today, except the stamp from melissascreations.com. Just click on shop now. And don't forget to use this month's current hostess code to get a special thank you card from me at the beginning of the next month. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you loved this card as much as I do, and I will see you on the next video. Bye!